New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Brz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And we're a couple of ministers talking shit. It's Friday morning in July, and we're grateful that you're with us. We want to start off the program today with with some good news, which is, normally we look at things that we need to pray about, the news stories that are called for prayer. Here's a news story for some celebration. We may not always remember the name Sandra Douglas Morgan in the future, but we're going to, because she and the Las Vegas Raiders football team have made history. Z, fill us in. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, they made history. And not only did they make history, they made it with a homegrown resident, Sandra Morgan, a resident, she's from Reno, Nevada, went to high school there. She went to University of Las Vegas. And now she is the president of the the Vegas Raiders. She's the first Black female president of an NFL team in the history. So she's just made history. She comes with a plethora, if you will, of experience. I mean, she's worked for the Gaming Commission. She was a city attorney in Vegas. And so this comes just about a year after Gruden, the firing of Gruden for statements he made with the Washington Commanders, I think they are now. But it's a great celebration. She brings a wealth of knowledge in terms of finance, and she worked on the Gaming Commission in Vegas, so she understands the finance, the gaming part of it. So it's a great win. It's a great win, and I'm happy for her. So now I got to get to Vegas and go see a game.
Okay. And I like this story because yes, the Raiders football team has a long and storied racial history, let's call it, and not always the most supportive of people of color, other than just, talent on the field. And this makes a real move and the thing I noticed is it's not like she's a football lineage. It's not like she's just been, this can't be a name just putting someone in a seat. This woman has a heck of a resume, and it would appear has done a lot of great work in the Las Vegas area over her lifetime. This feels like it's maybe a sidestep for her, but definitely a step up in recognition.
Well, and the other thing is, I applaud the Raiders, because one thing, even with Al Davis, when Al Davis was there, his son is running the organization now, but Al was always a person who went out on the limb to do things that were unexpected and shake up the league. And his son is doing the same. So this will put some pressure when you look at all the teams. I think there's only like 4 Black head coaches out of 32, and they have the Rooney Rule and all that, and they're showing that still doesn't work. So I mean, and as we get through the rest of the stories today, you'll be saying, "Wow, we need something going on." As we start reflecting all of the stuff, we need change in every position, place we can find it.
We need change everywhere we can find it. Yes, and our next story today, folks, touches on that. We've promised we want to keep you up to date on the Brittany Griner story. If you don't remember, Brittany was arrested. She is an WNBA star, WNBA star with the Phoenix team, and was arrested entering Russia earlier this year, just before the invasion, 2-3 weeks before they invaded Ukraine, on drug charges, on drug smuggling charges. Well, we know a lot more now. She's had a couple of court appearances now, and we'll be having more. Day before yesterday, she pled guilty to possession of narcotics. She appeared before the judge. Now, here's the thing: she had less than a gram of vape, of hashish oil, or as it's described, we don't know exactly what were in these cartridges. But she had 2 cartridges on her. One had 0.2 something grams. The other had 0.5 something grams, less than 8/10 of a gram. But that's enough in Russia that they've charged her. She has pled guilty, and she has made a statement that this was unintentional. She had never intended to break Russian law, and asked for more time to develop her defense and develop further statements. They have given her that. This is going to drag on for a while. She ultimately, this woman's facing 10 years in Russia for what would appear to be a political move.
Yeah. Because less than a gram is, I mean, I know it's their law, but I mean, 10 years for less than a gram seems punitive. Definitely not justice. Pay a fine, go home. You can't play basketball no more here, and be done with this thing. If you're trying to make something, but it's unfortunate that she finds herself in the situation in that country, with given the war and everything. It's definitely in a lot of ways, it's also a case of this timing stinks. And we're praying for her. I mean, she's a young woman. She's 31, 32 years old. I mean, just
and at the top of her career.
Obviously, because they recruited her to play over there. So somebody and she's been playing there for 2-3 years. So there was no problem when she was there and they were winning.
She's considered a superstar in Russia, is everything I keep hearing. And that's why she kept going back.
Yep.
And in her statement to the judge this week, she said her actions were unintentional. She was in a rush to pack her bag and must have thrown these cartridges in there by mistake. We'll see where this goes, folks. It's not over yet. We're raising up our prayers for dear Brittany, and it's unfortunate. It would appear she's been caught as a political pawn and is still being moved around the board in that regard. Let's pray that we bring her home, and let's pray she gets home. Yeah. So, all right.
Yep. Well, and while we're on sports, let me just throw one quick thing in. I just remembered, Rafael Nadal at Wimbledon. He's withdrew from the tournament because of injury, and he was looking good and headed to the championship. Just another sports thing. So he's out.
So Z is our resident sports aficionado, keeps us up to date on all the good news, all the interesting news, all the news happening in sports. Thank you, Z, for that. All right. Well, folks, here we are again. We don't like talking about guns. I'm going to tell you right here. We don't like talking about guns. And every time there is a story, my heart breaks a whole bunch more. Now, if you haven't heard, about Robert Crimo III and what happened on Monday morning in Illinois, you haven't been paying attention. If you haven't heard about Jayland Walker in Akron, Ohio, and what happened last week, well, this one was a little bit farther back, you haven't been paying attention. And we get it. Sometimes it's easier to tune out the violence that's happening. But I want to share just a little bit of how pervasive this consciousness of solving our problems with a gun has become. Because yesterday, well, as of 35 minutes ago, this story is breaking. You're probably going to hear it everywhere today. Former, and I just lost
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister, that's right, Shinzo Abe from Japan was assassinated in a political event during a political rally just hours ago.
Yeah,
and the gun is reported to be a homemade gun. Now, everybody, we talk a lot of people talk a lot about Japan and how low their rate of gun violence is, how little gun violence they have. And that's in part due to a severe crackdown on gun ownership. And the consciousness is still there that we don't know the shooter's identity or anything yet, but someone appears to have made a homemade gun to complete a political assassination.
Yeah, because he said he didn't. They said the shooter said he didn't like him. Wow.
Okay. There's a lot of politicians I don't like.
I'm not making a gun and go shoot.
No. And folks, we would love to hear from you, by the way. Please feel free to send us an email, ministertalk@ntmedia.org. Chat along with us, join the conversation here with us live. I don't know that we have an answer to what we do about gun violence. I do know that we begin with prayer and we begin with changing our consciousness around what's happening. Sometimes, Z, though, I think we're shouting into the void.
Oh yeah, we're screaming in the wind. Screaming in the wind. I mean, because and the other story that story you brought up about Akron, when we look at the disparity, again, people say, "Oh, you'll always bring up race." Well, when you look at this story between what happened in Highland Park, Illinois, and what happened in Akron, Ohio. In Highland Park, here's a young man who's staked out a parade, climbed up on a vantage point, killed 7 people, injured at least 24, fled, and after they've been talking to the guy, he thought about doing another hit somewhere. He is caught with not only the rifle but additional weapons in his car. And he gets to the jailhouse safe and sound. You have a black man in Akron, Ohio, who gets stopped for a traffic violation. There's debate now whether he had a gun or not. But he got out of his car and ran, and they shot 90 bullets at this young man, and they hit him with 60 for a traffic stop. And here's a guy you do a traffic stop on who just killed and created havoc, and he goes in alive. If you tell me that there's no disparity there, then one of us needs to go and talk to somebody. I don't know which one, but one of us needs to talk to somebody.
We said before the show, if you're a black man, you got 2 choices. You put your hands up and you pray they don't shoot you. Or you run and pray you outrun the shots. Because that's the choice. Yeah. But if you're a white guy, yeah, you can just put your hands up and get out of the car and not have to. And that's part of it, right? The white guy, and this isn't just this incident, folks. This is happening again and again and again and again. Young white men with a gun. Well, we're not going to shoot you. We're going to do everything we can to take you into custody. Now, is this the cops believing that you're inherently good enough to be rehabilitated, and that the black man isn't? Is it just sport for these cops?
Yeah.
Jalen was running in an empty parking lot. Now, I have to believe, whether the guy had a gun in his car or not, I have to believe he's running because he's scared.
Yeah.
He's not fighting. He's not trying to create an incident. Whether he's got a warrant, whether he's done something, whether he's got drugs on him, no matter what it is, he's running because he's scared.
Yeah.
You got guns, you got dogs, you got radios. We all know you can't outrun a radio. Put a guy in a car with a radio and let's cut him off at the other end. And he was in a wide open parking lot with nowhere to hide. And they just unloaded on him.
Yeah.
And they unloaded with no real sense of provocation. There was no flash. I've watched the video. There's no gun visible. He didn't have a gun on him when he was running. So if the guy did have a gun, which they say there was a gun found in his vehicle, he ran without his gun.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not meaning he's scared. He's not looking for a gunfight. But these cops, man, Friday night at the shooting range is what it sounded like.
Yeah. It's you know, on top of that, they had protests in Akron. Breonna Taylor's aunt and Jacob Blake's father were there protesting, and both of them got arrested. And Blake's father, and Blake was the young man over in Minnesota that the officer shot, and we know Breonna Taylor with the bus in. Both of them were arrested, and Jacob Blake's father had to be taken to the hospital. Now, I mean, if it's a coincidence, it's a strange coincidence that these kinds of things keep happening to people who raise a flag and a flashlight against the brutality of some of our police officers. They're not all of them. We know that. I'm going to make the bad statement. I have officers that are good friend of mine, right? So I know it's not all officers, but there is a culture in the law enforcement community sometimes that, you know, that have a different set of rules. And it's always, I mean, if we go all the way back to the time of the mafia, you know, they said they always had people on the payroll and whatever. Well, it's not so much that now. It's just a culture that has developed, I believe, that in some of these cases, they'd have no regard.
Yeah, exactly. It is, and I've heard it referred to that too as the thin blue gang, referring to the thin blue line flag that's out there, that it's a gang mentality.
Yeah.
And it's a gang mentality. And let's be straight up, folks. It's all of this can be traced back to how easy it is to get a gun.
Yeah.
Our white suspect, Robert Crimo III, or well, he's admitted to the crimes. And his father has made statements that he does not regret allowing this young man to get guns legally. And every one of Crimo had 5 different weapons, I believe, is what the latest count I saw was. And all of them were obtained legally. Therein is part of the problem.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, you know, and they were saying, you know, people were saying, oh, we tried to get this law to 21. He was 22, but he purchased all the guns before he was 21, from what I remember.
Okay, I didn't hear that part. So we make it easy. We're not making it tough. In Japan, it's tough. And we don't hear of mass shootings, and we don't hear of daily, weekly experiences of gun violence in Japan, because they've made it very, very tough to get a gun. And it would appear you've got to make your own if you want to do any. So come on, America. Let's get on board. You're going to hear me shout this every week until we get it right. Call our senators. call your representatives, call your governor, call the mayor, do whatever it is that we need to do to get out and start. And let's start envisioning a consciousness of a country where guns do not solve the problem. When I hit my search function this morning for Akron, Ohio, because these protests are getting rather dangerous, the first story that pops up is a man found dead in a car, or found dead with his car close by, riddled with bullet holes. No cops. This isn't a police shooting. This is just somebody shooting somebody else over because he's mad at him.
Yeah. And so, we really, people have said this, but I don't think it's been done earnestly. We really need to have some serious conversations around guns, gun ownership, gun training, all of it, because it is now so easy to get guns, and they're trying to make it more difficult or more, strenuous. But in the meantime, the guns are there. There are lots of illegal guns. There's lots of legal guns, and they're too easy to get for people who, it appears, I don't know for sure, that haven't had the proper training and understand. I've said over and over again, I'm from the South. You learn to handle guns very early, right? And most of it, at least in my case, was for hunting. But and protection, because I was at my grandfather's house, who lived on 300 acres of land out in the woods. So, all right, something might happen. You might need to protect yourself. So you learn how to do it. But it's the first thing they tell you: this is not a toy. You do not play with it, and you don't take it out unless you plan to use it. So there's some rules that I don't know if those things are being taught or honored. I mean, with all the people say, oh, the video games. I mean, that has an effect. Now, I don't know how much, but I know for a fact, knowing how consciousness works, if you play games where there's a lot of shooting, you become desensitized to some degree of what that's doing.
Right. Yes. I don't want to pretend that this experience has grown up in the void, has taken shape in without other factors.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's all consciousness. It all comes back to the consciousness. So if you spend endless hours alone, shooting cops in video games or other people indiscriminately, that definitely has something on your psyche. That there's no question about it. Robert Cremo would, I don't know, I haven't heard any stories about him in video games yet, but he was a known entity to the police. He'd had run-ins prior.
Yes.
There had been mental health issues and investigations of his mental health prior. And this is what we're asking for, is common sense regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it would appear the red flag laws in place failed in this issue, in this instance. And a man with a known mental health condition was able to legally purchase guns. And what it's going to take, I believe, is a wholesale shift in the collective consciousness of our country. And that shift has to be to the point of realizing that we are safer without these weapons on the street than we are safer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real, folks. There were a whole lot of potential good guys with a gun in that parade route, and not one of them was able to stop or would have been able to stop. So you could have given a good guy, every good guy there could have had a gun, and it wouldn't have changed the outcome, except maybe for some collateral damage. So we've got to get over this consciousness of it's everybody's right to own a weapon, and it's everybody's right to use and brandish that weapon and call yourself a good guy and get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, we have to become, I had a teacher once said, we need to be curious about life and trying to understand it as opposed to trying to destroy it because we think we are in control.
Right.
And some of this, in a culture where we've been taught we are in control all the time, we're the captains of this ship called Earth. It's not the case. And as you said, we have to begin to have a consciousness change. I mean, just, and I'm going to throw some levity in there just to juxtapose to this conversation. Just yesterday, day before yesterday, and it's not, change the subject in terms of how much we need to be curious. They just found 3 new subatomic particles in CERN with the Hadron Collider, where they found the Higgs boson. They found 3 new particles, subatomic particles, that in terms of trying to understand the makings of this whole thing, us, that happened like 13 billion years ago, right? We can't even figure that out, but we think we got enough intelligence to go and indiscriminately shoot people.
Yes.
I don't get it.
I agree.
We have to become more curious, I believe. All that to say, we have to become more curious and reverent of life because it is continuing to unfold. We're continuing to understand life itself. And for people to go around indiscriminately taking life because we don't know why the young man and Robert did what he did, Cremo in Illinois, or we don't know what the mindset was behind the officers who put 60 bullets in a 25-year-old. But if we were a little more curious about life and understanding that this is sacred, this is something that took 13, 14 billion years to create, right? We might take a different look at when we pull the trigger.
Yep. Well, and you hit on it there for me. Right. Reverence for life. Reverence for the life that is here and that is real. And it's, I think I might have shared this last week. I don't remember. Recently, I was out walking the dog, and I was walking the dog. I came home. I saw another couple, I assume husband and wife, walking a dog as well. And the man had a pistol on his hip. And Colorado's an open carry state. There's nothing illegal about it. But I'm looking at the situation from the perspective of I walk around this block every day. I'm walking around this block every day for over a year and a half now. And yeah, we're close enough to some crime that some things have, but nothing violent. Nothing where I think I'm going to need to pull out a gun. And I have to question, just because you have it doesn't mean you're trained how to use it. And just because you have it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to stop somebody who has planned something, somebody who has a thing, something, an agenda that they're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And so it seems like there's just so many people willing to pull a gun that more people are going to get caught in the crossfire than people are going to.
Yeah. It's bad.
Linda's chiming in. We're with you, Linda, right? Earth-based religions hold a common reverence for life. And I think that is a big part of what we can do as New Thoughters, as religious scientists, get back to really pushing that reverence for life.
Yep.
I think we found our call for the day, Z.
Yes. Reverence for life.
Reverence for life. So we're going to wrap this up, folks. Let you get into your day. It's a beautiful Friday here in Colorado, and we've got a full day of great programming for you. Catch our new show here on New Thought Media Network, Practicing Infinite Possibilities. It comes on at 10 a.m. Mountain Time with Lindsay Leimbach, a brand new show, just the second episode this week. Really lots of fun. Just One You with Reverend Barbara is at 1 o'clock. 5 o'clock is The Good News with myself. 6 o'clock is Pastor Michael Mangus with the Fireside Chat. And I believe you're his guest today, are you not, Z?
I think I am. Looking forward to
it. So we got a great day of programming here, folks. Please join us again and again. We're going to give it one more chance here for Beyond Reverence for Life. Z, how about a final thought for the morning?
Go out and say hi and smile to somebody. Take some of the tension down. Smile and say hello.
Yeah. Let somebody know you love them.
Yep.
Let somebody know they're loved, no matter what. It may just be something that stops somebody from picking up a gun. All right, we're Ministers Talking Shit. This is another edition Friday morning, and we thank you for being with us. Join us again next week or check out the archives on YouTube. Until then, wishing you peace and richest blessings.
Peace.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.